They ended up going to a local diner, and the man was able to recount in extraordinary detail what Dahl had experienced. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. My name's Brittany for any of you that do not already know, and if you are new to my channel, if you could quickly hit that subscribe button, it would mean so much to me. My channel is focused on all things paranormal, so if that's something that interests you, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Today's actually funny because it was just really gloomy out, and I was thinking like, oh, well, I'm probably gonna have to turn on a light or something along those lines, and then the sun came out. So I think that's a good sign. I'm actually so excited to talk about the topic today because we're gonna be talking about the Men in Black, which is one of my favorite things. Now, the Men in Black there's so many conspiracy theories around the Men in Black, and it's just this huge phenomenon. And the movies are pretty amazing as well, you guys. As you can see, I am wearing a pug on my shirt in honor of Frank from the Men in Black. And which obviously this is not a Men in Black shirt, but another fun fact, I also absolutely love pugs. I had one for 13 years, and I can't wait for the day that I get another one. Now, the Men in Black are very eerie, and they always appear unannounced. They're usually in black business suits, and they warn people to give up their research. Otherwise, they would face dire consequences. Now, in many cases, the Men in Black have seen aliens, or in even some accounts, they are said to be aliens, or at least some sort of demonic entity. As the theory goes, the government would take these measures because aliens are closer than we think, and might actually be everywhere. Now, if ordinary people just realized how big the threat actually was, there'd be mass hysteria and it would disrupt the entire social order. So in theory, they created this part of the government that just kind of keeps everything in check. Now, it is believed that the Men in Black can be traced back to June 27th, 1947. Now, obviously, I'm sure that there were Men in Black encounters far before this. However, this is the first reported sighting of the Men in Black. Now, as the story goes, Harold Dahl was on a conservation mission on the Puget Sound near the eastern shore of Washington Maury Island. Now, he was gathering logs when he saw 6 donut-shaped obstacles hovering about a half a mile above his boat. One of the obstacles fell nearly 1,500 feet, and this was followed by raining metallic debris. Some of the debris hit Dahl's son Charles in the arm. Another one actually hit their dog, which unfortunately the dog didn't survive that encounter. Now, Dahl was able to take some pictures of the aircraft with his camera, which he later showed his supervisor, Fred Chrisman. Now, Chrisman was a skeptic, and he felt the need to see this aircraft with his own 2 eyes. So he went to the site, and he saw this strange aircraft with his own 2 eyes. Now, the following morning, Dahl was visited by a man in a black suit. They ended up going to a local diner, and the man was able to recount in extraordinary detail what Dahl had experienced. Quote, "What I have said is proof to you that I know a great deal more about this experience of yours than you will want to believe," end quote, the man had said to Dahl. Now, Dahl was told to never speak of the incident, and if he did, that bad things would happen. Which it's kind of funny, you guys, because these are the stories that the movies were derived from. And because if you think about it, J and K, they often go to a diner. That's kind of their thing. And so I think it's just kind of funny how in the very first reported sighting or encounter of the Men in Black, the guy goes with Dahl to a local diner to discuss the encounter. Now, not long after the encounter, Dahl claimed that the whole thing was a hoax. And he actually recanted years after, saying that he made that first confession under extreme duress. Which, I mean, I guess makes sense, because if you're being, threatened and this person has all this information and can recount this encounter that you thought that you were the only one to see or experience, it definitely could be very intimidating. Now, the Men in Black seem to have one purpose, and that is to muzzle witnesses of strange paranormal encounters. They are almost always dressed in black suits with hats and dark sunglasses. They drive black cars and arrive in groups of 2 or 3. And some people describe them like an FBI agent, while others say they have strange appearances such as glowing eyes and strange complexions. Now, I was actually talking to Jeff about this last night, and a lot of reports of Men in Black are they have glowing eyes and they have pale skin, like very pale, but probably paler than me. So I don't think anybody ever really thought that maybe some of the encounters, the person could be albino. And because albinos, they have the very, very white skin, they have red pupils, and that could be mistaken for glowing eyes. And that could be another reason why they're dressed in black, because, their skin is so sensitive. I'm not saying this accounts for all encounters of the Men in Black, but I do think it's something that I haven't actually read or came across. Just a theory that people should keep in mind. In a 1949 government report on flying saucers, it states that Dahl and Crimson attempted to sell their story to Chicago Magazine, or to a Chicago magazine, sorry. Now, the magazine editor contacted Kenneth Arnold, who was a pilot who had his own UFO sighting on June 24th, 1947. Now, they contacted him in hopes that he could verify this account. So then Arnold then summoned 2 officers of Army A2 intelligence to aid in the investigation of Dahl and Crimson's claim. Now, in July 1942, 2 Army A2 intelligence officers came to investigate. And after leaving in their B-25 the next day, the plane caught fire and crashed, killing both of the officers. Which is, it could just be a coincidence, but it is kind of strange that they were looking into this and they actually ended up dying. Now, Albert K. Bender, when I think of Bender, I think of Futurama, but obviously nothing related. But Albert K. Bender is the main reason why we know of the Men in Black, though. So it was said that the Men in Black visited him in 1953. Now, Bender was a young UFO enthusiast, and he wrote a book in 1962 that was titled Flying Saucers and the Three Men. It described the Men in Black in a much more terrifying language. It said, quote, "They floated about a foot off the floor. They looked like clergymen, but wore hats similar to Homburg style. The faces were not clearly discernible, for the hats partly hid and shaded them. The eyes of all 3 figures lit up like flashlight bulbs. They seemed to burn into my very soul, as the pains above my eyes became almost unbearable." Bender would go on to write many other stories about paranormal encounters and paranormal in general, And he even wrote one on the Mothman. However, not everybody in the UFO community believes his writing was done in good faith. Now, there have been many different interactions with the Men in Black. So I'm actually going to tell you guys a few of the most famous ones. Now, one of them involves a Dr. Herbert Hopkins. He was working as a consultant on a UFO case in Maine. One evening, he received a phone call from someone saying that they were an activist in the UFO community and was asking him if they could visit Hopkins to discuss the case. Only minutes later, the man arrived, which is pretty creepy because this guy, like, he's on the phone. He's like, hey, like, I have information for you. I'd like to discuss the case with you. And Hopkins is like, oh, yeah, sure, come over. And the guy's there. So either the guy lived right around the corner, already knew where Hopkins lived. To me, like, for me, I would definitely question that. I'm feeding my son puffs. Anyways, definitely strange. Now, the man was wearing a black suit and tie, and he had unusual facial appearances with no hair or eyebrows, and he was extremely pale. So, again, they do go along with albino. A lot of albino people can't grow hair. So, that would explain the no eyebrows and being bald. But, again, that's not in all cases. And it's also not, it's not a theory I've ever came across. But it's just something that popped into my head last night when I was talking to Jeff about it. So, if you guys don't know, Jeff is my fiance. Hopkins' dog began barking like crazy as soon as this guy entered his home. And after the man was finished questioning him about the UFO case, the visit got even stranger. The visitor informed Hopkins that Hopkins had 2 coins in his pocket, which turned out to be true. So he asked Hopkins to take one of the coins out, which was a shiny new penny. Now, Hopkins held this penny in the palm of his hands. The visitor told Hopkins to watch that coin very closely. So he did. And after a few moments, the coin took on a silvery appearance. Then it started going out of focus before it disappeared altogether. The visitor informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen on this plane again. And then he inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with the alleged UFO abductee, Barney Hill. Now, Hopkins was under the impression that Barney had died recently, and the visitor informed Hopkins that he was correct. Now, Barney didn't have a heart attack, the visitor said, just like you no longer have a coin. Barney Hill actually died of a cerebral hemorrhage, and the visitor then gently suggested to Hopkins to destroy all of the material he had on the related UFO case. Now, Hopkins did as he was told and burned all of his case files. While he had repeated phone troubles, which after discussing with the phone company, turned out to be his line was tampered with. Besides that, he had never had any encounters with this man again. Another sighting or experience with the Men in Black happened to Jim Templeton. Now, he was shocked to discover a figure in the background of his photo with his daughter, which I will insert that photo right here. Now, the figure was not in the camera's view when he took the photo, and nobody had any idea where it came from. And I know that if I was taking a picture of Sebastian, and I saw this strange figure in the background of the camera that I had not seen while I was taking the picture and while I was with him, that would terrify me because, you know, it's by my son. The film was actually verified as authentic by Kodak. So it was nothing that the guy photoshopped this like moon man figure into his daughter's photo and was like, oh look, this figure is here. So it was nothing like that. It was nothing that was done to get attention, because it was proven to be authentic, you guys. After it was proven to be authentic, his story went public. And not long after his story went public, he was visited by 2 government agents who referred to themselves as number 9 and number 10. Now, they demanded to see the site of the photo and questioned Templeton about the event. When Templeton told them that he didn't actually see the figure in person, they got irritated and angry. And they stormed out into a field, and he never saw them again. Later on, Templeton was actually contacted by 2 employees at a missile launch in Australia who claimed they saw 2 figures resembling the man in his daughter's photo on Launchpad security footage. Apparently, the missiles at that site had been produced only 20 miles away from the field where Templeton took that photo. Now, another one is Paul Miller. Now, he was returning home after a hunting trip when he saw a disc in the sky. The disc landed in an empty field, and 2 humanoid figures emerged from the craft. Miller had fired his gun at him before fleeing down a rural road in his car, and he believed that he had injured one of them. Now, he realized shortly after that he had lost time. You guys, he lost 3 hours. And he kind of just shrugged it off, which, I mean, I don't think I could shrug that off. If I just lost 3 hours, I would be like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? How did I miss that? But anyways, he just shrugged it off and went back to work at his Air Force job the following day. Now, upon entering work, he was confronted by 3 men in black suits. They told him that they had his file, and despite telling nobody about this event, they told him that they knew all about it and mentioned that the encounter would be best forgotten. Now, Paul stated, they seemed to know everything about me, where I worked, my name, everything else. He also said that they asked questions that it seemed like they already knew the answer to. And he didn't end up coming forward about his experience until years later. So the next one, you guys, is about Danny Gordon. So Danny Gordon was a radio personality who became interested in a flurry of Wythe County UFO sightings. Now, Gordon became obsessed with getting photos of the objects, including one time that an entire school bus of children actually saw the UFOs flying over a shopping mall, and Gordon ended up actually taking pictures of the encounter. He got well enough photos that it was very obvious that these crafts were not of this world. And shortly after, he received a phone call from a man that claimed to be ex-military. Now, this guy warned him that his research would cost him everything, and he urged him to stop for his family's sake. Now, Gordon was also interviewed by 2 men in black suits who claimed to work for a magazine publication. Not long after the interview, Gordon realized all of his photos were missing. So he contacted the magazine for information, and they had no idea what he was talking about. They had never heard of him. They had never set out to do an article about him. Not long after that, Gordon actually suffered a heart attack, and he gave up the story, and he was never bothered again. Now, another one is about UFO researcher Jack Robinson and his wife, Mary. They had begun to experience strange events as they dug more and more into alien and UFO-related research. Now, they would come home and find their house rummaged through and looked through, and their UFO files disturbed. Now, Mary also began to notice a strange man in a black suit and hat staring at their apartment from the doorway. Mary mentioned this to a friend, and the friend drove over and actually took a picture of the guy, which I will insert that picture right here. That's really creepy to me, you guys, because, well, one, I don't like being watched, so it would really creep me out if, like, especially, I feel like it would cause something, paranorma, if you were just, you noticed that you were getting, just being watched, and you would just, I feel like it would drive you crazy. Another one is about Professor Peter, I might pronounce his last name wrong, Ratchewitz. Now, he claims that he was reading a UFO book in a library when a strange, pale man in a black, and wearing all black, sat down next to him. Now, this man began talking about his opinion on flying saucers. The professor replied and said that, he wasn't super interested in them, and the man actually became very agitated. And then he eventually left, which I don't know if that's exactly a Man in Black or Men in Black encounter, you guys, but it is very creepy. I would, I think that if someone just did that to me, I'd be like, okay, I gotta go, so, and just walk away. I wouldn't wait for the guy to leave. Just go check out my book and leave myself. Now, another one is actually, I might pronounce this one wrong too, but it's Dan Aykroyd. Now, he is actually an actor. He came forward with his story about he was taping a show about the paranormal. Now, he stepped out to take a phone call from Britney Spears, and she was asking him to appear on Saturday Night Live with her. And he noticed a black Ford parked across the street. And a tall man stepped out of that Ford and stared him down. Now, Dan turned away for just a moment and then turned back to find that the man in the car was gone. Now, after he finished his phone call, he returned to the studio to find his show had been canceled and he was ordered to stop filming immediately. I think that one's crazy, you guys, because this guy wearing all black in this dark black car, he is staring him down and judging him and almost trying to intimidate him. And he walks back in, so then he turns around quickly because, that makes everyone uncomfortable. And so he turns around quickly and turns back, and this guy's just gone. Which, if he got back into a car and left, that's not I guess that's not super, crazy. But it's weird that this guy got out just to, just kind of stare him down and then gets back in his car and just leaves. Just weird. But he walks back in and his show on the paranormal is just canceled. No explanation why. Which I feel like if the crazy thing was that there was no explanation. Now, a lot of people doubted his story, you guys, but a lot of people doubt, a lot of stories about the paranormal encounters. Now, personally, my belief about the Men in Black is that they are a branch of government that is, their whole purpose is literally to keep people quiet. Because the government, we all know, they like to control things. They like to have their secrets. They think that it's better for society. And they like us to know information on their own accord. So if people are releasing information that they don't want us to know, they're going to do something to stop them. So I do think that there's a lot more out there than what people see and what people know. and that this branch of government is simply to keep people who are having those experiences, or even whistleblowers, quiet. I don't think that they are aliens. Like, I believe in aliens. I absolutely do. I think it is a little naive, personally, to believe that we are the only, especially intelligent species in the universe. So, and like, the universe is so big, you guys. There's something. And I think that, there are species that are far more intelligent than humans. And who's to say they're not here? I mean, I am one of the people that do believe that they are walking amongst us. I don't think it's necessarily like Men in Black, where, they go into the post office and there's that guy with like 8 or 10 arms, like sorting mail. I don't think it's like that. But who's to say that? Because there's a lot of different planets that are very similar to Earth and just throughout the universe. And I think that it is very likely that, there are other species that look like humans or resemble us enough to be able to blend in with society. But I also don't think it's crazy for some Men in Black to be aliens, but I don't think that's the case with all of them or even the majority of them. But it does make sense to me that, the government would have a procedure in place for people that experience these things and that are coming close to information to kind of keep them quiet. And I do think that, these people are coming up to them, and these Men in Black are coming up to these people and they're telling them basically what they experienced. And that's terrifying, because these people have these experiences and they think that they're the only one that experienced that exactly the way they did. And this person's coming up and they have all of this knowledge, and then they tell you it's better to keep quiet. Or keep quiet otherwise, like, for your family's sake. And since these people have all of this information, it's very easy to believe that, if I say something, they might harm my family. And obviously, family comes before everything. So it makes sense for people to wait years to actually come forward with their stories where they feel comfortable enough. But, so that's my opinion, guys. I would love to know your guys' opinion on the Men in Black. I know this was a little bit of a longer video. It is one that I am very passionate about. I'm passionate about a lot of things I talk about. But definitely the Men in Black, it intrigues me so much. And I want to know if you guys have had any encounters with them, or any encounters with extraterrestrials, or what you think the Men in Black are and what their mission is. So all the ways to contact me, you guys, will be right down below. If you have any suggestions or anything that you guys want me to cover, definitely reach out to me. I would love to hear from you guys. I have had the pleasure of talking to some of you guys, and it literally makes my day every single time. And if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I just recently hit 500 subscribers, you guys, and I am so thankful for each and every one of you who are supporting me along this journey. And I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time.